Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the presentation of our national colors.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the dedication of the Oshkosh High West High Veterans Honor Wall. My name is Command Sergeant Major John Miller, a 22-year veteran of the U.S. Army Reserve and staff member here at Oshkosh West. I am truly honored and humbled to stand before you today. You served your country. Now, your alma mater is honoring your service. Happy Veterans Day. Projects like your honor wall do not just happen. In many cases, the original idea can be traced back to one person's dream, and that man is Andrew Schaller. Inspired by a similar family project, Andrew dedicated countless hours of his personal time to make this wall a reality. And would you believe this started in March of this year? Andrew himself is a veteran who served 10 years with the Wisconsin Army National Guard, deploying to Iraq in 2005. He is a social studies teacher and head coach of the tennis team here at Oshkosh West. Please join me in welcoming Andrew Schaller to the stage at this time.
Thank you very much. Happy Veterans Day to you. Senator Baldwin, Senator Johnson, Congressman Grothman, Mr. Secretary Zimmerman, State Senator Dan Fine, Assembly members, Mayor Cummings, Superintendent Mack, other local representatives, leaders of our community, veterans and family members, thank you for taking the time out of your day, your busy schedule to come here and honor the people who serve this great country. Here's a brief history. Now, I have to tell you, I gave myself 3 to 5 minutes, and it might be a little longer. 7 months of project into a couple minutes doesn't work. The idea of this wall, as Command Sergeant Major said, came from a project that I did at home with my wife, Jacqueline. I began linking our family members to their service to our country, and we found 28 family members that went all the way back to the American Revolutionary War. I ended up creating a project in our basement, and it's on display in our basement today. This is where the idea came for why doesn't Oshkosh High or West have a wall to commemorate the people that have served this great country. I knew this wasn't going to be easy because I had to go through our government system. We all know how easy that is. Right, veterans? The sole person I had approached to get this done is our principal, Aaron Cole. Aaron, are you out there somewhere? Could you please stand? Good job, guys. I approached Principal Cole with this idea, and she looked at me kind of like, really? But stated in her words, this is an awesome idea. Let's find a place so everyone who comes to Oshkosh West can see this. She gave me full flexibility and trusted me throughout the whole process to make the right decisions. Aaron, thank you for the support for this project. Once the vision was in place, the next decision that had to be made was, what is going to be the mural or the backdrop? Of course, as busy teachers are, I hesitantly approached our art department. The art department chair is Linda Jeffers. Can you please stand? Sorry. Linda listened to my every idea, and I knew at that point she thought I was crazy. Although I did think Principal Cole did as well. After taking a few different times talking with Linda, we came up with an agreement of a flag mural. Unfortunately, the original flag was a little too small for the project, and you'll see that as you walk by it this afternoon. There were 3 other art teachers that graciously donated their time, hundreds of hours to this project, so I want to make sure they get recognized as well. Mr. Jason Riff, if you could stand. Mrs. Kelly Spanbauer, and Mrs. Liz Bryan. Into this project, this honor wall is nothing without the backdrop that makes it look absolutely amazing. So thank you. Now the hard part was finding the nominations, and I tell you, trying to get a nomination process going is very difficult. I contacted the Northwestern, WOSH, Channel 5. We got it running. We used social media. It took a little bit of time to get running, but our goal for today was 1,500, and we are at 1,587 names. There are thousands and thousands of names out there that unfortunately we're never going to know, and it breaks my heart that every person is not going to be out there. We will continue to take nominations as long as I am here, or as long as I can find someone to continue this project, because more people join the service every day. We find new people that come forward with their service. So the goal from the beginning was to commemorate the honor wall today during this massive ceremony, and boy did we go big. The fact that we can almost pack a 1,400-seat auditorium and have the special guest with us today in our audience and up front is unbelievable. In fact, in my 35 years, I don't think I've ever seen this many representatives who represent our public together in one place. So please help me and give them a round of applause. Them all being here shows their support for our veterans and our country. But in order to make this ceremony happen, there are many people who gave countless hours of their time that I want to make sure I recognize as well. Could Deborah Kramer, Command Sergeant Major John Miller, Aaron Heller, Brad Jadarsky, Kathy Heinen, Amy Mesner, Tina Renenbaum, and Megan Sari please stand? I know you're scattered. Because of their help. So I greatly appreciate that. Now, I'm almost there, I promise. The future plan of the honor wall is to eventually expand to the other side of the hallway. When you see it, it's on one side of the hall. We want to take it from the Veterans Honor Wall to the Veterans Honor Hall. In order for this to happen, we need the continued support from community members. That means if you know somebody, please nominate them, whether they want to be or not. This entire project and this ceremony has been fully funded on donations. If you can please, at any time, give anything you can to make sure that this project continues and ensures that our veterans are recognized for what they've done for our community, our state, and our country. Now, the real reason we're here, the veterans. I am truly humbled to be in front of you this afternoon. This is your day. This is your honor wall. The Honor Wall would not exist without you. The hours of time that have gone in this project are nothing compared to the sacrifices that you and your family members have made to this country. Behind every veteran is a family who has to pick up the additional responsibilities as well as deal with the stress of their loved one being away. All too often, we forget to thank the family members of the soldiers. Today, I want to say thank you to the families of our veterans for stepping up during the time to fill the gap to persevere in our society where we've gone. So thank you. One thing I want to do before I'm done, I'm going to ask each veteran group by pretty much war period to stand to be recognized. When I do this, I want you to look around this room while you're standing, take in and enjoy this moment, because it is yours. So, would any of the veterans here from World War II please stand? I know we got a couple. Would all the veterans of the Korean War era please stand up? Welcome home. Would all our Vietnam War veterans please rise? Welcome home. Would all of our veterans post-Vietnam and Gulf War please stand? Welcome home. And finally, would all the veterans who served past the Gulf War, served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and other places around the world, please stand. Welcome home. Today you are truly appreciated by everyone in this audience. As you look around the room, I hope you notice the support you have from your fellow veterans and your community members. Hold on to that during the tough times. As veterans, we all have those moments that we need support. Please never feel like you cannot ask for it. We are all here for you. Finally, I could not leave this stage without recognizing a very special group of people celebrating this day with us with more emotions than I can ever imagine. I am extremely humbled and honored to be in the presence of those whose loved ones paid the ultimate sacrifice to this country. Would the Gold Star families in this room please rise? Words cannot express the sincerity and gratitude I have for your families. Your families have bore the weight of losing a hero for our freedom. Know that we are always here to support you when you need it. Thank you all for coming today and showing your support for those who have given us the freedoms and liberties we have in this great country. Welcome home.
At this time, we're going to show you a video in order to welcome you back. A huge thanks to those veterans who came in to assist us in the making of this video.
packed your bags and shut the door. You crossed the sea to fight a war. You didn't know just what would happen to ya. Stepped in the dirt, boots on the ground, and gunfire was the only sound. And to yourself you whispered hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Every day and every night, you walk the walk, you fight the fight. You never saw the end in sight, now did ya? The days are washing a haze of red, the blood, the mud, too many dead. Your weary soul was crying hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Too late to help you hear a shot. You know you're in a deadly spot. You never thought the day would come, now did ya? Your brother falls down to the ground. The enemy is all around, and from your lips you scream a hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. You fought the fight till it was done. You have the strength to carry on. You thought it'd be much better back home, did ya? You try each day, keep pushing through, but the battle lives inside of you. It's a cold and it's a broken hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Our first guest speaker today has led the Oshkosh area school district through good times and bad since joining us in 2012. Since his arrival, he has created a strategic plan for the future, brought more technology into the classroom, and strengthened the relationship between the schools and the University of Wisconsin-Oshkosh. He has over 40 years of service to education. Please join me in welcoming the Superintendent of the Oshkosh Area School District, Mr. Stan Mack.
Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Oshkosh Area School Board, the School District School Board, and the entire Oshkosh Area School District, its administration, teachers, and support staff, it's my pleasure to welcome each of you to the Alberta Kimball Auditorium. We are joined together this afternoon to honor the more than 1,500 Oshkosh High School and Oshkosh West High School students who have served or are serving in the United States military on this Veterans Day 2017. Veterans, your presence here today on Veterans Day to celebrate the unveiling of the Veterans Honor Wall represents an outstanding demonstration of the past nearly 6 years of growing strong partnerships between the greater Oshkosh community, the university, the city of Oshkosh, Winnebago County, with the Oshkosh School District. This event is the 5th formal observance of Veterans Day in the past 36 hours, as it's been scattered across our schools by district administration and teachers and our support staff to teach about history, to make present for our students the understanding and the importance of Veterans Day for all of our students. I am grateful to our educators, our education leaders, teachers, and supportive parents for bringing history, service, and relevance to our more than 10,000 students. Under the leadership and inspiration of Andrew Schaller, Iraq War veteran and Oshkosh West High School teacher, the support of Principal Aaron Cole, the Oshkosh West High School Art Department, and an outstanding team of Oshkosh High School educators serving as the ceremony committee, they joined together with the American Legion, the Veterans of Foreign Wars, the Vietnam Veterans of America, the Disabled American Veterans, the AMVETS, and the Marine Corps League, the Military Veterans Museum and Education Center to establish this and celebrate this special event today. We thank all of those individuals and organizations for that effort. Andrew Schaller and all of his school community partners are molding the very best of school and community engagement for the purpose of recognizing and honoring our most deserving citizens, our military veterans, who have been Oshkosh High School and Oshkosh West High School students for the past 160 years. In the Oshkosh School District. My personal thanks to all the individuals and organizations, for each of you for taking the time and treasure for your presence and honoring these individuals today, and for a special thanks, and especially the thanks to our military veterans who have protected each of us and our heritage for more than 240 years. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you my thoughts. And veterans, thank you once again for your service. My very best to you and your families. Thank you again.
Our next speaker graduated with his bachelor's and Juris Doctor's degree from the University of Wisconsin-Madison. He was a member of the Wisconsin legislature from 1993 until 2014, when he was elected to represent the 6th Congressional District of Wisconsin in the United States House of Representatives. Please welcome to the podium the Honorable Glenn Grothman.
Well, first of all, where's Andrew? I've got to thank him for doing this wonderful thing. It's kind of humbling even to be here today, not being a veteran myself. But it's great to be at Oshkosh West High School this Veterans Day. Whenever you're at a high school, you can't help but talking to the young people. We have a lot of young people helping out today. I'd like to thank them for doing this as well. You can't help but talking to them about the job that they're going to be taking on in the future. Today we dedicate those to taking the most important job of all, that being the job of joining the United States military. Some of you took that job for 2 years, some of you took that job for over 30 years. But whether you're an airman, soldier, in the Navy, thank you for all you've done. Now the question is, what can we do, or what can we do to be appropriate for these brave people? And I think there are 3 things we can do. First of all, I think we should familiarize ourselves with the great actions these people have taken to keep us free. And that means, going back, reviewing all the wars that the people on that wall fought in. Be it you're reading about Bellow during World War I, Battle of Witten, Battle of Midway, or Battle of Bulge in World War II, reading about Korea, reading about Vietnam, or the most recent conflicts in Afghanistan, Kuwait, or Iraq. I think you'd be amazed as you read about it, what these people went through. I don't have time to go through all I would like to in this regard, but what I'm going to ask you to do when you get home, there's a great thing, I think it's been on TV a little bit. General Kelly gave a speech a little while ago called 6 Seconds to Live, about some of the soldiers fighting in Iraq as a truck bear down on them with explosives designed to kill hundreds of American soldiers or their Iraqi counterparts, and how it was just their job to stand there as that truck bore down on them, and they fired their combat weapons at that truck, and they were both blown away, knowing full well they were blown away. But they didn't flinch for a second, because that was their job. And I think as you read about 6 Seconds to Live, and I'll repeat it again once before I get off the stage, it's something I would not only read myself, but I would give your children and grandchildren to read, so that they know what other people are doing, so that you can keep having the free life, and quite frankly, the very almost pampered life that those of us who are not in the military. The second thing I do is focus again on all the great freedoms we have, and freedoms that other people around don't have, because they haven't had the wonderful, brave military people fighting for them, be it the freedom of religion, the freedom of speech, trial by jury, or freedoms that aren't listed in the Constitution. The right to travel wherever you want, the right to buy whatever you want. I love to read about other countries or people who come here from other countries, and some of the interesting things that they don't have that we take for granted. I remember reading a book once about a Russian airman who took off and escaped Russia during the Cold War to come here. He couldn't believe the average American freeways. He couldn't understand how the government let people drive wherever they wanted without knowing where they're coming from, for example. One of the interesting things I found on my job, there's a program by which people give hundreds of thousands of dollars to become American citizens. Controversial, maybe good, maybe not. But one thing that really impressed me is the number of Chinese parents who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars so their children can come to the United States, and some may become American citizens. We all hear about, China's the way of the future. China's becoming more wealthy. But a goal of the wealthy people in China, is to somehow spend hundreds of thousands of dollars so someday their kids can become American citizens. And the final thing we focus on is making sure that we all do not give up the love of this country and never forget realizing how great this country is. One of the things that scares me today is when you pick up the paper and read people, we're not a perfect country because people aren't perfect, but reading about people who should know better, tearing down our country, racist this, whatever. And it always scares me when I hear about that, because I'm a little bit afraid if they ever succeed, they're going to take away the resolve that will cause another generation of military people to defend our freedoms. So, with that, I'd like to thank the veterans one more time for all you've done to make my life so free and enjoyable. And again, when you get home, Google that. 6 Seconds to Live, General Kelly. You'll be very impressed. Thanks.
Please welcome back to the stage the Oshkosh West Choir singing Tell My Father.
Our next speaker is a highly decorated combat veteran who served 25 years as a military intelligence officer and combat engineer in the United States Army. After retiring from active military service in 2008, he worked with the U.S. National Guard Bureau, the Wisconsin Department of Military Affairs, and served as a director of the Reserve Officer Training Corps programs at Ripon College and Marian University. He recently was appointed by the governor as the 10th Secretary of the Wisconsin Department of Veterans Affairs, where he is charged as the chief advocate on behalf of the state's nearly 400,000 veterans. Please welcome the Honorable Daniel Zimmerman.
Sergeant Major, are you retired? You're not retired yet, okay. Well, I retired in 2008. I don't know if this thing's gonna, you know what? I'm just gonna go like this. It's gonna make it easy. But no, I was thinking, for folks that are retired, and I get to go around and I get to talk at a lot of veterans events, and I see a lot of people in uniform, and you know, old soldiers, old sailors, that kind of thing. And I'm very envious because they can actually still wear their uniform. I've always been a little concerned that if I put mine on, I might take somebody's eye out with a button or something like that. So, but I was impressed by, you know, the good Sergeant Major here and how good he looks in uniform. I just, you know, I'm very envious, I guess. So, but and the other thing, you know, just whenever I think I got to tell my staff to make sure that whenever I go to speak somewhere, that don't have students sing before me, because I turn into a blubbering mess. So I just very moving to hear them sing. But you know, with that, you know, Veterans Day started, you know, in a different. It was called something different 100 years ago, but that's about when it started. 99 years ago, you know, 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month, World War I ended. And then shortly thereafter, we began remembering our veterans on the 11th day of the 11th month of each year. And today we're doing the same thing at 11th day of the 11th month. If you think back, a little history, we've been talking a little bit of history today. 1917, when World War I, the U.S. got involved, we had students on college campuses that were drilling with broomsticks in preparation for their service. Young people from all walks of life, they signed up in droves to serve. And those that couldn't serve lined up in support. And we saw, with every conflict since then, we've seen very similar displays of selfless service. Millions volunteered, millions more were drafted into military service, and in numerous wars and conflicts since World War I, we've lost over 2 million dead, missing, and wounded. Now, many millions more actually returned from those wars and conflicts with wounds that are not visible, but nonetheless just as painful. Now, sadly, many of us in this room have experienced those invisible wounds firsthand, veterans and family members alike. Now, we understand the concept of selfless service all too well. However painful and that service might be to ourselves or our loved ones. Now, as secretary, I'm often asked my thoughts about Veterans Day and other veterans-related holidays. Now, specifically, how should we properly honor those that have served and that are still serving? And I remind them that there is no right way, so to speak, to do it. In fact, one of the best aspects of our veterans-related holidays is to see how unique and innovative our celebrations actually are. And today is a great example. To see the Veterans Wall that commemorate the service of so many is another great example of one school doing one great thing to help us remember. But I always say, why wait for specific holidays to celebrate veterans? We celebrate them every day and encourage everybody else to do the same. Now, for me, what I try to do each day is I thank God each day for the men and women and their families that selflessly sacrifice so much to defend us, our nation, and our way of life. And I never forget that we as veterans swore an oath to the Constitution, to the nation, and to the flag. I never forget that we fought for the flag. We lost family members for the flag, and friends also while doing so. And I never forget that we buried them under that flag. And whenever I'm given the chance, I proudly stand and pledge my allegiance to that flag and to the republic for which it stands. And whenever the national anthem is played, I stand in remembrance of and reverence to the family members, the friends, the neighbors, and the strangers, all who have sacrificed so much and granted us the safety and security to live our lives in the greatest nation this world has ever known. So as we move on from today, I ask that we continue ceremonies just like this one, this wonderful gathering that we have here today. And without it, because when you think about it, without events like these, displays like the honor wall, we will often forget the courage and the sacrifice of those that have come before us. So each day, whenever we have the opportunity, whether it's the Pledge of Allegiance, whether it's the national anthem, whether it's a handshake and a thank you, a moment of silence, or just a simple prayer, we should never forget those for their selfless sacrifices that have secured our ability to gather here today. Thank you for granting me the honor of appearing here today. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you very much. The one thing that I learned in the Army is that officers really need some good sergeants to take care of. So here you go.
Are we good? We're good? All right. All right. NCO, right? Okay. Our next speaker is a native of Madison, Wisconsin, but traveled to tiny Northampton, Massachusetts for her bachelor's degree before returning to her hometown to complete a Juris Doctor degree from the University of Wisconsin Law School. Her political career began in 1986 when she was elected to the Dane County Board of Supervisors. Later, she won a seat in the Wisconsin Assembly before being elected to the U.S. House of Representatives for 2 consecutive terms. In 2012, she was elected to the U.S. Senate, where she serves on the Committee on Appropriations, Commerce, Science, and Transportation, and Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions. Please welcome the Honorable Tammy Baldwin.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for that warm welcome. Service members, families, friends, and our veterans. I couldn't be more proud to be here with you to salute the finest among us who have protected and defended the American freedoms that we all cherish. It's always good to be in Oshkosh, and I'm honored to join Chaplain Brigadier General Stephen Shake, welcome, and the federal, state, and local officials here today for this Veterans Honor Wall commemorative ceremony. Senator Johnson, Congressman Grothman, Secretary Zimmerman, State Senator Fayen, State Assembly Minority Leader Hintz, and Oshkosh Mayor Cummings. I also want to thank Oshkosh West for hosting this ceremony and recognize the incredible hard work of our educators here today, including Superintendent Stan Mack and the leadership at West, Principal Aaron Cole, Vice Principal Rebecca Montour, and Ryan Peterson. And now that I've heard a little more, I also want to thank the art department and the students who are a part of this incredibly important commemorative ceremony. To Command Sergeant Major John Mueller, and to Andrew Schaller and all your fellow teachers here today, thank you for everything you have done to help lift your students up to their dreams. Also, while in Oshkosh, I want to appreciate those who labor in industries focused on keeping our service members safe while in harm's way. Today, we say to all our veterans with one voice, welcome home. This Veterans Day, we join together as one community to honor and remember those from Oshkosh West and Oshkosh High before it who selflessly served the American values we share. They have done more for our country than anyone could ever expect. So on this Veterans Day, let us draw strength from their courageous service. To the families, you need to know that we are standing with you always. And to the family of Army Specialist Richard Hentz, they are here with us today. Richard tragically never made it home from Vietnam and is the only Oshkosh soldier still listing as missing in action. To his mother, Dorothy, your son's sacrifice is not forgotten. To brothers, Ron and Randy and Sister Kate, Richard's service and courage will always be remembered. Our hearts are with you. It is his service and the service of nearly 400,000 veterans in Wisconsin that inspires us today. So let today's ceremony be a reminder that we can all do our part to keep the sacred trust that we have with our service members, our veterans, and their families. We all have a role to play, not just this weekend, but throughout the year, to pay tribute to those who have bravely given so much for us and our freedoms. This is a shared responsibility, and we can all draw strength from those that we honor. Let us be inspired by their service and the great nation that we are all blessed to call home. Thank you.
In the powerful words of Joseph Campbell, a hero is someone who has given his or her life to something bigger than oneself. At this time, we honor those classmates who made the ultimate sacrifice in the defense of our freedom. They shall never be forgotten, and their sacrifice will never be in vain. Our next speaker was born in Mankato, Minnesota, where he started working small jobs as a child. At the age of 15, he worked as a dishwasher for the Walgreens Grill, and by the age of 16, he was night manager. He obtained his Bachelor's of Accounting degree from the University of Minnesota in 1977. Working as an accountant for Jostens, he continued to work towards his MBA at night. He moved to Oshkosh in 1979 to start a business, Pacor, with his brother-in-law. He was involved in every function of the business that has provided him experience to bring to the United States Senate. The senator was elected to his first term in 2010 and still serves our community today. He is chairman of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee and also serves on the Budget, Foreign Relations, and Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee. Please welcome the Honorable Ron Johnson.
Thank you, Sergeant Major, and thank all of you for coming here, spending a couple hours out of your day to celebrate this Veterans Day, to commemorate, to remember, and to reflect. Secretary Zimmerman, you said it was hard following a beautiful song. Try following a list of the following. Congressman Grothman mentioned General John Kelly, a four-star general, Marine general, a four-star parent. I was actually with his wife earlier this week, Karen, who came to our confirmation hearing for the next Secretary of Homeland Security. Congressman Grothman mentioned a video. There's another video of Secretary Kelly just a couple weeks ago describing what happens to the fallen, how their body is returned, and what the military does to honor the fallen. He talked about and he described the duties of the casualty assistance officer, standing outside the home of the loved ones, waiting for the lights to come on, walking up the walk, and proceeding to break the heart of a family member. Karen mentioned to me that it was Rob's Day earlier this week. They lost their son in Afghanistan 7 years ago. I think Senator Baldwin, I think Congressman Grothman, I think every elected official would agree with me that probably one of the best parts of our job, one of the greatest honors, is the unique contact we have with the finest among us, the members of the military, people like General John Kelly, the Gold Star parents and families. People like Jason Church, a young man I met at Walter Reed as he was recovering from his wounds in Afghanistan. Jason Church grew up in Menominee, Wisconsin, was a football star, UW lacrosse, lost both legs below the knees from a mine in Afghanistan. He woke up, still on the battlefield, as his men rallied around him to evacuate him. This is the kind of man Jason Church was, because as he woke up, his troops were in somewhat of a panic. He said, guys, it shouldn't be this hard. I weigh a lot less now because he knew he'd lost both legs. Later on, when Tony and I met him, my chief of staff, he said he also realized at that moment God had given him a new platform. Our veterans are the finest among us. They are extraordinary men and women. I never served. When I get called in these circumstances to speak in front of the finest among us, I always feel, let me confess, unworthy. I never stepped up to the plate. I didn't serve. I didn't have to sacrifice. So it's always a little difficult to figure out, what can I say? What can I say to those who have given so much? So let me finish just by telling a little story that occurred to me or happened to me a couple days before I gave a Memorial Day speech. The week before, on my way to Washington, D.C. with my wife, Jane, got on the airplane, and I immediately opened up my briefing book, and I'm busily reading my briefing materials, and I hear a commotion, hear a couple of young men offering to put the bags of an elderly woman up in the overheads, offering her seat. I looked up, and there are two young men, khaki shorts, T-shirts, but very short cropped hair. I asked one of them, "What branch do you serve in?" He said, "Army, sir." Of course. A couple days later, I got a text from my daughter, Carrie, asked me if I had seen the latest Facebook posting from my niece, Lindsay. I hadn't. I told her to send it to me. It's particularly the picture she wanted me to look at, and the picture was of Lindsay's husband, Noah, a new father, holding his new young son up in the air with a smile as only a young father would have. But if you looked very carefully at the photograph, if you looked at his cheek, you'd see a tear streaming down the cheek because it was a picture of his deployment ceremony. The following morning, I woke up, went down to the living room, and my wife Jane was looking at the TV. She had Fox and Friends on. And she had a really odd look on her face. And I said, "Jane, what's wrong?" She couldn't speak. She merely pointed at the TV, and I looked at the TV, and there, Fox and Friends, on the Avenue of the Americas, they'd set up a mini obstacle course for Iraq war veterans. And there, using a buddy system, one buddy was helping his friend, missing a leg, through that obstacle course. Now, the point of that story is, like other people who haven't served, as I walk through an airport and I see men and women in uniform, I oftentimes do say thank you for your service. Oftentimes I don't, because I don't want to disturb them. My point being is to all of those, all of you who have served, please know how grateful we truly are, that we recognize the magnitude of your service and sacrifice, a magnitude so great that a mere glimpse of it puts a smile on our face, brings a tear to our eye, or renders us entirely speechless. To all of us who have not served, please, please thank a vet. Thank them for their service and sacrifice. For the finest among us, those of you who have served, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. And for all of us, let's ask God's blessings on this great land and pray that He keeps the finest among us safe and sound. God bless you all. Thank you.
Our next speaker is an Oshkosh High graduate of 1963. He proudly served his country in the United States Marine Corps from 1965 to 1971. He spent the next 20 years working in advertising and marketing for Mercury Marine in Fond du Lac. In 1987, he ventured off on his own to purchase and successfully run Gear Murray Advertising in Oshkosh. He is currently serving his second term as the mayor of Oshkosh. Please welcome the Honorable Steve Cummings.
Good afternoon. And to my fellow 1963 classmates, it was an awesome class, wasn't it? I'd like to thank Andrew Schaller for this enormous undertaking to honor and remember those from Oshkosh High School and Oshkosh West High School who honorably served their country over the past 100 years. And as time goes by, it is easy to forget those brave men and women. I'd like to share a brief story about an experience I had over 25 years ago. At that time, I was still working with Mercury Marine, and we had a manufacturing facility near Brussels, Belgium. On a Friday afternoon in late March, my counterpart, a gentleman by the name of Marcel, who was also a Belgian, wanted to take me to dinner in Germany, which is just a few miles away. And on the way, he insisted that we stop at a cemetery. I thought, that's an odd request, but as I was a guest in his country, I agreed to go. We arrived at the Henry Chappell American Cemetery and Mausoleum about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. It was like a day like many of our days here in Wisconsin in late March. Overcast, drizzly, rather gloomy. But it was a great source of pride for Marcel to show me this cemetery because the Americans had liberated Belgium. It contained almost 8,000 graves of American servicemen, most of whom lost their lives during the advance of U.S. forces into Germany. It was a beautifully maintained cemetery filled with white crosses, marble colonnades with the names of the 7,992 individuals buried there, and of that, 544 were unknown. Marcel and I were the only two people there, plus a sentry who was walking guard duty. When I asked Marcel if many people came here anymore, he said no. When I asked why, he said, you must remember that many of the parents of these men are also deceased. There is no one left to remember them. One of the things that went through my mind is that my dad could have been out there. These brave young men were sons, brothers, and husbands, but many would never be fathers or grandfathers. My visit to the Henry Chappell American Cemetery and Mausoleum is a trip that I will never forget. This is why the Veterans Honor Wall we are celebrating today is so significant. Let us never forget our classmates who so proudly served their country. We are all products of Oshkosh High School and Oshkosh West. Since graduation, our lives have taken us in many directions, but today we have returned with family and friends to remember and honor those who have served our country so bravely. Thank you, and God bless America.
Please welcome the West High School Brass Ensemble on the direction of Mr. Dan Singer playing America the Beautiful. Our keynote speaker today hails from the Oshkosh West High School class of 1976, and he enlisted in the U.S. Air Force as an F-15 avionics technician. Sir, you're going to have to help me out explain that later. I am but a simple infantryman. And later commissioned as a chaplain candidate in 1985 and entered active duty chaplaincy in 1988. His duties have taken him to a veritable where's where of Air Force duty stations, serving as a staff chaplain in 3 major commands and special assignments at Arlington National Cemetery and the United States Air Force Academy. He served as the deputy command chaplain for both Air Force Special Operations Command and Air Combat Command. He served as a senior staff chaplain for the Air Force Intelligence, Surveillance, and Reconnaissance Agency and the command chaplain for Air Education and Training Command. His latest assignment takes him to the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., where he serves as the Deputy Chief of Chaplains for the entire United States Air Force. Please welcome Chaplain Brigadier General Stephen Scheich.
Thanks, Sergeant Major. My mother would have been proud of that introduction. Thank you. What an honor it is to be here and just spend a few minutes with my alma mater. I haven't been back since I graduated 41 years ago. It's been quite a while. Gold Star families, first and foremost, thank you. You have served in ways that none of the rest of us could ever imagine. So thank you. We salute you. Leaders of our national and state and local government, thank you. I have to offer a special word of thanks to Senator Baldwin. There was a little moment just before the ceremony where some of the student government leaders got together and decided that I too needed a boutonniere. So imagine this, there's 12 student government leaders all they're around me, but none of them knows how to put a boutonniere on. And the senator said, wait, whoa, I got it. And so there's this great picture, I can't wait to get it. Ma'am, thank you for taking care of me this afternoon. Yeah, please. Andrew, where are you? Where are you? You're hiding somewhere. Where is Andrew? Behind the curtain. Somebody get Andrew up here. He deserves a round of applause for this extraordinary undertaking. Andrew? Maybe he's taking a nap. I heard he was here till 3 o'clock this morning, finishing up the final details of the ceremony and the honor wall. Where is Andrew? On behalf of veterans everywhere, thank you, Andrew. As every veteran knows, there's absolutely nothing free about the freedoms we share. So if you woke up this morning more concerned about the Badgers beating Iowa than a nuclear weapon destroying a major U.S. city, thank a vet. If you plan tomorrow, maybe tomorrow morning, spending an hour or so in a place of worship of your choice, or no church at all, you can once again thank a vet. But don't for a minute believe that all is well in this world. My home away from home is the Pentagon, and we have some serious churn going on in this world. North Korea, Russia, China, Iran, violent extremists all pose direct threats to our way of life. And 9/11 proved that no longer are two big oceans protection enough from those who seek to do us harm. So today we dedicate a wall full of names to honor those who have served our country in uniform. And I pray that this wall also serves to inspire high school students to consider one day doing the same. When I graduated from this high school in 1976, I enlisted in the United States Air Force mostly because of the free college money that I was promised. And the Air Force promised that if I served for 4 years, they'd pay my college bills. They kept their promise. But little did I know that I'd fall in love with this idea of serving a cause much bigger than myself. And now with more than 33 years of uniformed service behind me, I can tell you, I wouldn't change a thing. I grew up fortunate enough to have 2 amazing parents, a wonderful family, a great church, and several uncles who served in World War II who inspired me immensely. But I got to tell you, right here at Oshkosh West High School, much of the real foundation of my life was laid. I remember Miss Deering, the humanities teacher, who taught us things we never knew we needed to know. I remember Mr. Caprillion trying to keep me from failing honors math. He succeeded. I remember Mr. Kruger, my English teacher, teaching me a little about English, but even more about life. I remember Mr. Crum scaring the bejeebies out of me in his psych course because I was absolutely convinced he knew everything I was thinking all the time. I remember Mr. Schmaltz. He was our band teacher. I'm not sure that I've ever met anyone as patient as he. I recall Mr. Spalding trying his hardest to teach a bunch of teenagers to get interested in history. That was a tough proposition. Mr. Miller was not only my favorite woodworking teacher, but he and I built similar grandfather clocks together in my senior year, and mine is still telling time in my home in Washington, D.C. But my favorite teacher of all was Mr. Sidney Scoville. Mr. Scoville, a private pilot and aviation enthusiast, along with being an industrial arts teacher, managed to talk the school board into fronting a whole bunch of money so that he could teach a course called airplane construction. Now, what can go wrong, right? A bunch of teenagers building an airplane from scratch. But not only did Mr. Scoville win that argument with the school board, but he would take us frequently out to Steve Whitman's house on the east side of the north-south runway. And we'd get to talk directly with the architect, with the designer of the airplane we were building. The school and Mr. Scoville took a huge risk. And I'm standing here today as proof it paid off. Not long after I got my pilot's license, and I've been, I guess, in the aviation business ever since. Thank you for including me this afternoon in this historic moment. And if you're a person who prays, pray for our nation, its leaders and lawmakers. Most of all, fellow veterans and the family members of those who have served. Welcome home. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Our nation will never fully be able to thank you. But because of Andrew's efforts here, we've taken a big step in the right direction. So God bless each and every one of you, and God bless this America we call home. Thank you.
Please welcome back to the stage the West High School Brass Ensemble playing God Bless America. At this time, we'll officially dedicate the Oshkosh West Oshkosh High School Veterans Honor Wall with the cutting of the ceremonial ribbon. Our guest of honor is Dorothy Hammer, the mother of Specialist 5 Richard Hentz, Oshkosh High School's only soldier still labeled as missing in action. He is listed on panel 4 West, line 21, on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. Ms. Hammer will be joined by Richard's brothers Ron and Randy and sister Kate Anderson. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the retiring of our national colors.